Welcome to Things I Can't Say, the podcast for the things parents whisper, not post. I'm Annie, a parent who's walked through the quiet, lonely hallways of raising a child with traits that don't fit neatly into any of the parenting books, or on anyone's social media feed either. Each week we'll open the door to stories that rarely get told out loud. I'll start with mine, and then you'll hear from other parents, mental health professionals, and people who know what it means to live in the gray instead of the black and white. This is a place where shame loses its power, where complexity isn't feared but explored, and where love doesn't have to be easy in order to be real. If you've ever felt like no one else could possibly understand, you're not alone here. This is Things I Can't Say, and I am so glad you're here. Welcome back, and welcome to middle school, which is what I identify as the beginning of the end. It was hard going into this age, but the shift that happened during middle school was significant. Going into this time frame, our son had the diagnosis of ADHD, and then Tourette's was diagnosed, I believe, in 5th grade, early 6th grade. All we really saw with Tourette's at that point was mild tics, like you would imagine Tourette's looking like in a mild way. That was it. We decided at that point, again, we're coming to the end-ish of COVID. We took a job working at a camp 3.5 miles up a gravel road in the middle of the forest in a teeny tiny town with a teeny tiny school next to no cell service or internet service, just with this idea that we would circle the wagons and our family would be together more, my husband would be home more, there would be less outside influence. Like we could figure this out. We could have our eyes on our kids more. We could make this work. I wish I could say I was correct in that, but I was very, very, very wrong. We moved not long before our son started 7th grade. And I don't know that I felt like 7th grade was awful in the beginning. It didn't take long before the tics started to grow and become more intense and louder and bigger. And my concern around his behavior that I was seeing was growing. But our decision to move to the middle of the forest left what I was seeing, and we add COVID to that. You're isolated during COVID. So what I'm seeing behavior-wise, other people aren't seeing. So I would go to the school, teeny tiny school, IEP meetings and say, like, here's what I'm seeing, and I'm concerned about what I'm seeing. Something is off. I don't know what it is, but something is off. And I would get well, sounds like typical teenage boy behavior. It's not, though. What I'm seeing is not, because if you met our son, what you would see to your face is kind and sweet and charming and, oh, so funny. Like he could make you laugh all the time. So funny. Our relationship, if you met the two of us together, would look so good. We could talk and hug and laugh. All good. It was that everything bad happened behind my back. I didn't see it. I didn't even see it coming because what was happening to my face was so good. Everything looked good. I didn't have the rebellious child. I didn't have the child who disagreed or refused to do things or argued all the time. I had a very compliant child. And then when I wasn't looking, it was the opposite. And my concern was increasing. We started having some incidents of more inappropriate behavior with others, making sexual threats to people. Again, all reported without proof, which I'm not saying to say that it didn't happen. I'm saying that with the way that our son's brain works, when you can't hold the proof right up to him and say, no, I see that you did it, it would be argued forever because he would deny it. If there wasn't proof, he would deny it and be upset that his parents didn't believe him, which then makes you feel awful as a parent for not believing your own child. Um, the tics started to increase. My concern around his behavior, odd behavior with other people, the sneakiness, dishonesty. We did a neuropsych evaluation, and autism was added to the list of diagnoses, which surprised me. Autism was not something that I saw in him at that point. I'm not sure it's something that I see in him now, but I took it because it offered us some more opportunity for help. As we got through 7th grade into 8th grade, substances were added in. Vaping started and marijuana started. And I get a lot of pushback when I talk about our son and marijuana because marijuana is seen as harmless, just one of those substances that anybody can use, except for our son. From the very beginning of him using it, it did not work well. The first time that I recall knowing that he used it, we got a call that he was paralyzed at school. He could not. We had just seen him that morning. We went there for a science fair. We talked to him. He seemed nervous, but fine. And then we got a call that he couldn't use his arms or legs. He was paralyzed. We took him to the ER, and he tested positive for marijuana. We got home, and we confronted him on the marijuana use, and he lost his mind that night. And we ended up back at the ER in a psych hold. On that psych hold, he wrote down on paper, he couldn't talk, but he could write. And he wrote down on paper the list of people at school that he wanted to not be alive anymore, the animals that he had severely harmed, family members that he had attempted to harm with weapons, uh, long lists of very scary, scary things. And they told us they didn't have a bed available to keep him any longer anywhere, so we had to take him home. How do you do that? How do you take a child home who wants to uh, take out people at school, who wants people in your family to not be alive anymore? How do you take that child back home? But we would be charged with abandonment if we didn't. So we did. They did not say that it was because of marijuana. That just seemed to connect in my mind. Then we had the Tourette's. I thought it was Tourette's. I still don't know what it was to this day. We had these episodes start, which he said felt like tics, but they became these long, hours-long episodes where he could tell us they were coming. He could tell us that we would need to hold him down, restrain him. I'm going to bite you if you don't hold me down. I'll hit you if you don't hold my arms. It would take my 250-pound husband and all of his strength to hold our 140-pound son down for hours. We would call the ambulance repeatedly because these episodes would go on for so long, so often. We were going to the hospital all the time. Our daughter made another accusation against him of inappropriate touch in an extreme way. That was investigated. And at the time of the investigation, she said she wasn't telling the truth about it. It didn't happen. And then her story matched his. There were allegations at school of inappropriate touch of other people, both girls and boys, that happened enough that he got suspended from school at the end of the school year. The behavior was consistently increasing, but there was no diagnosis in place that explained it. And at that point, we decided we had to move back to town to a place that was closer to a hospital because having an ambulance or police take 30 plus minutes to get to our house while our son was completely out of control with a child who is telling us that he has, I don't even know if I can say it on here. Can I say that our son killed animals? His own pet, like his pet fish? Can I say that? That he had a hit list for kids at school? That he took rat poison and put it in his dad's water? Like, he wrote those things down, and then we just got to take him home and try to figure out how to deal with it and keep our daughter safe, who is making allegations against him. A daughter who also has so much trauma from her life. Our house was a mess. It was a mess. We felt like we had to be watching all the time. There was no ability to rest. You couldn't stop because you didn't know what was going to come next. And there was no way of having trust. At that point, you could not trust. If our son said anything, you couldn't believe it. Before we moved, we found out that he had offered our daughter, who was, I think, 8 or 9 at that point, marijuana and a vape. Uh, it it was so bad. So we moved. We moved back to town, to the house that we're in now, the summer before our son went into 9th grade. And we thought, we'll be closer to services. We'll have more resources involved. We'll be closer to the hospital. Like, we'll be able to figure this out. We'll get our son away from the people who are giving him the marijuana, where he's finding that, get him around a new group of people. Somehow we will make this work. So we got him to town. Within days of moving into our new home, our son completely destroyed rooms of it. Like, we were again having these episodes where he's out of control of his body, but these are like angry episodes where he's growling and acting like an animal. So he'll go into the bathroom and stand on the counter and growl like he's not even him anymore. And at this point, I'm pretty sure there's not marijuana happening. So I have no idea what this is. He is tearing his way through drywall. He's punching his way through doors, destroying mirrors and shower rods and toilets and countertops and cupboard doors. One thing after another, and all we can do is stand and watch and then call paramedics and police to come and get him and try to calm him down again. We are doing this daily. Like, this is a daily, nonstop thing. And at this point, we have a team of people who are trying to help us, but there is no help because there's no diagnosis for what is happening. Nobody can tell us what is happening with this. We just have a child who's having episodes that are completely out of control. There's not friends involved at this point because we're in a new place. He's just out of control. We got to September. He started his freshman year of high school, met a girl, had a new girlfriend. I would say September went okay. And then I believe marijuana entered the picture again. And things went another step downhill that I didn't even know was possible. But I will share that in the next episode. Thanks for being here, listening, feeling, and sitting with the hard stuff. If you've ever whispered a story like mine, I'd love to hear from you. You can leave me a message at mombehindthescenes.com because every story told gives someone else permission to share theirs. This is Things I Can't Say, the podcast for things you whisper, not post. Until next time, take care of yourself.